Hello and welcome to Let's Play EVE Online. I'm your host Loot Object, and I'll be going over the Caldari race today. The Caldari race is more of a corporation or workplace managed faction. They're based upon industry and large corporations. Now, let's go ahead and look at their ships. Caldari is shield based. So normally you're only going to ever shield tank a Caldari ship. You might tweak it a little bit, do a little armor tanking on some things, but normally you want to shy away from that because you just really all out have better shield management with Caldari. Alright, they also normally do missiles. They do hybrid guns. No pun intended. The hybrid guns aren't necessarily the most efficient guns in the game. They have very good damage for close range firing. Let's go ahead and see if I can bring one up. Okay, hybrid guns. Show information. If you see optimal range, pretty short. This is a small gun. So overall, let's bring a comparison up here. There's another, well, that's not even a good example. Let's compare this one, and let's compare this one. Okay, so the hybrid long-range form, the railgun, versus the beam or the long-range laser. The optimal range is 10. Optimal range for the hybrid is 12. Now, this is purely dependent on the quality of the gun, but normally they're about equal. The hybrid sacrifices damage for longer range. Lasers can also do longer range, but you use a lot more power and you really sacrifice damage. Hybrid is some form of plasma slag that you're shooting. It's supposed to be a mixture between laser and projectile, so you kind of melt the slag. Anyways, hybrid guns have a better chance of high damage, short range, when you use blasters. Right here, particle cannons would be a form of a blaster. If you want to look at the market, ship equipment, turrets and bays. Hybrid has blasters and rails. Blasters are short range, rails are long range. Blasters are really short. They're the shortest of all guns. Now, rails are pretty long. They're not the longest, but they're pretty long and they're pretty out there. Now, most missiles are going to be used in Caldari, and again, I spent a bit of time on guns, so that's pretty much all you ever need to know. Not really, but the idea is there. Alright, so you look at missiles. You got, to start with, you got light missile launchers, which shoot small missiles or light missiles. They're your frigate and some of your destroyer missile launchers. And you can put them on your cruisers. It's not normally suggested. Then you have heavy launchers, which are for your cruisers and battle cruisers. And then you have your cruise launchers, which are for your battleships. Now you also have torpedo launchers. They are the equivalent of, say, I didn't go over that yet. You have a long-range version of missiles and you have a short-range version of missiles. Kind of like everything in this game, you have a long and short range. So, to start with, torpedoes are your short range for battleships. Cruisers, or cruise missiles, are your long range for battleships. Okay, so your cruise missiles are your long range and your torpedoes are your short range for battleships. Your heavy launchers are your long range, and your heavy assault launchers are your short range for cruisers and battle cruisers. And your light missile launchers and your assault missile launchers, wherever those would be, so your light missile launchers and your rapid light missile launchers are your long range and short range version for your frigates and your destroyers. So if you watched any of my previous videos on tanking, you'll know that shield tanking is either active or passive for Caldari, and a little bit of Minmatar, and if you want to splash it in with other races, normally it's not suggested, but you can do it. So you either have a passive tank where you're trying to overall maximize your HP while minimizing your recharge time, or you have, say, or you have an active tank that requires a booster and a hardener and some capacitor regen, because normally shielding requires a higher energy output for recharging. So again, Caldari uses missiles and hybrid guns. They use a little bit of drones, not much. They use shielding, which is active or passive. Now, one of their secondary things is they can do ECM. Now, I don't believe I have any ECM here, but the market does. The market has everything, especially JITA. So ship equipment, electronic warfare, electronic countermeasures. ECM is determined upon the race or the signal type that is being used. So gravimetric jams, I believe, let's look at it. Yes, Caldari. Then you have ladder, which I believe is Amar, magnemetric, which I believe is Galinti, and radar, which I believe is Minmatar. I could be completely wrong, but normally you look at the color and it kind of relates to the race. Anyways, it's for jamming. Jamming is jamming up the targeting of the opponent's ship. So technically, if they can't target you, they can't fire at you. So if you jam them, you just neutralize all damage that they're putting out, as opposed to trying to mitigate or repair it. So it's a bonus. Normally, it comes at its own cost because it's a mid slot, and a mid slot on a Caldari ship means less shielding, or you have to switch over to armor tanking. So you have to have a fine line between ECM and actually having a tank. So again, shielding is active or passive. You have hybrid guns, you have missiles. Missiles pretty much do everything Caldari does. You have a little bit of drones, and you have huge capacitor uses. So you want to look at some good capacitor skills when you're going into Caldari. Anyways, again, that's the end of the Caldari video. Thanks again for watching, and please thumbs up if you like it, and comment if you have any questions. Alright, have a good one.